Parents have a lot of decisions to make regarding the upbringing of their children. One of the most valuable choices a parent can make for their child, one of the most beneficial choices a parent can make for their child, is getting them involved in team sports. Team sports are good for a child's upbringing because they help with social skills and making friends. They help ensure that the child's getting enough exercise, and they help instill discipline. All right. Team sports help with making friends quite a bit for kids. They force you to enter social circles that you wouldn't otherwise join. There's people from all walks of life, and your initial reaction to someone may not be favorable, but if you're forced to spend time with them and you get to know them, then it's likely that you could become friends. There are people with all backgrounds and all different experiences, so if you have lived in a pretty consistent and lily white neighborhood area, if you go on to a team sport, maybe a community team sport or a league, you have a chance of running into more diverse people, and that's always culturally enriching, and it's good. It teaches good skills for later on in a child's life. Team sports force kids to spend time with each other, and which makes bonding almost inevitable. When you're working hard and doing something that you might not like to do, you're feeding off of your teammates and their work ethic and their motivation, and you're suffering together. And there's something to be said for the bond that is created between two teammates when they're working as hard as they possibly can together. Getting exercise is a very important part of a child's upbringing, and being involved in a team sport helps ensure that that happens. In September 2020, the Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System found that less than a quarter of U.S. high schoolers get 60 minutes of physical activity a day, which 60 minutes is the recommended amount, recommended minimum amount. High school sports often mandate after-school practices. Most common would be a 5 or 6 day a week practice, at least an hour and a half after school. All this time in your sport, during practice and during your matches and your competitions, combined with all of the activity that you do on your own or that a child has through just normal phys ed class, puts them way ahead of the curve as far as health and physical activity. School sports incentivize exercising on your own time. If you get really committed to a sport and into it, a lot of times you're more determined to be better at the sport. And one of the biggest parts, if not the biggest part about succeeding in a sport, is being in peak physical condition. There's a certain kind of motivation one derives from truly wanting to be great at something. And team sports set a precedent for physical activity and work ethic throughout the rest of one's life. There are a lot of valuable lessons you can learn as far as that: determination, motivation, not giving up, perseverance. A lot of that is learned through participating in team sports and team events. Team sports provide kids with a sense of obligation and commitment. A lot of times kids lack that. And then when they grow up, they mature, they're thrust into the real world, and they lack the experience to be able to handle some real world obstacles. Team sports teach kids respect for peers and respect for authority. There's a lot of consequence for being disrespectful and not being a good teammate, and you can be alienated. You will be alienated if no one on the team deems you respectful or polite. Healthy competition in team sports instill practice of good sportsmanship, which is incredibly important for later life. And learning how to win and lose graciously is incredibly important. Team sports really help educate kids on how to control their emotions and keep a level head and be cool-minded. Team sports overall are an incredibly beneficial thing for kids and teenagers and even adults going into into Legion leagues and community leagues. They overall improve the health and the well-roundedness of the participant, and they're a great option.